July 2023, I released my first commercial video game, a very colorful Metroidvania with 8 zones to explore and a lifespan of around 5 hours. In January, I was coding a small and ambitious 2D platform game in black and white. Then, I suddenly got dizzy and thought, what if I turn this little game into a big, extremely colorful Metroidvania? And that's how Absurdus came about. In this video, I am going to tell you the story of the development of Absurdus, my Metroidvania game. So I started by making a copy of my old linear platformer, so I'd have backup in case I screwed up. Make backups if you're a developer, trust me. Your last backup can easily become your best friend. And I started. I deleted all the levels I made a global map of the world of the game, I modified the character, I created new models for the enemies. I remember struggling with the visual for the bees levels, which indicates their field of detection. I also created my first Godot autotile, and oh boy, Godot autotiles are great. Anyone who spent ever hours laying tiles one by one for the layout of a 2D level will love it and bow down before the power of the Godot autotile. In fact, I think this system only exists on this game engine, so use Godot. I then drew a map in my pixel art software because I had it to hand and who cares, it's my map. Finally, I created the map using tilemap and started filling in the rooms. The first one was particularly important as it should help the player understand the basic game systems. In the case of Absurdus, there weren't many, as at this stage the player hadn't picked up any powers. So I put up these poles to make the player understand that he has to jump, but to make him understand that if he falls into it, he'll start again at the last checkpoint, and the standard grip power is placed in such a way that he can't be avoided so that the player understands what it is and doesn't try to avoid it thinking it's an obstacle. Then I've placed a bee next to the checkpoint, first checkpoint in the game, so that it's completely avoidable by players who want to, but gives over the chance to test it to better understand their IA. And then, it was just a matter of iterating on that for the other rooms in the zone. Special dedication to the 2 rooms with lifts, which I changed over and over again because of bugs, but in end, it didn't do much since this mechanic will never be used again in the entire game. I then created the map for the third zone as its autotile was already ready. I coded 2 types of obstacles. The jumping enemy is especially designed for the power that the player has just acquired at this stage of the game, and it's an effort that I have tried to repeat several times over the course of the game's development. I find this zone particularly beautiful graphically. Also, I have to admit that it can be a little repetitive. I've also hidden an optional power here. There are 2 in the game, so it's up to you to find where the other one is. The second zone. At that stage, the game had already been in development for 3 months, I'd say. Also, I don't really remember, and I'd completely forgotten how to do the autotile layout, since the first 2 were done at the same time as the very beginning of the development. So I struggled a bit before doing this one, but I say that more to complain than anything else. It wasn't that complicated. Outdoor zone in the game, so the 2 mechanics that come with it, geyser and birds, are very ideal to take advantage of this opportunity. Still, it's not my favorite zone, especially as I found it visually rather poor, especially compared to the third one. Then I started to go faster. The fourth zone, Ardenado, went pretty quickly, and the autotile is pretty good. It may well be my favorite zone, because both its mechanics are good and the graphics are very good. When I say very good, it's in my scale. Like, it's not very good for all the people, but I improved. My pixel art has finally improved at this stage of the game. Look at the delicious textures of serious guns. If you're into math, you'll understand that the trajectories of the hot air balloons are nothing more than sinusoids. Love maths for more easy design tips. And a bit cheap. The next zone, the labyrinth, is complicated. It was originally intended to be labyrinthine and very, very empty to create a heavy atmosphere. That's why the only hazards in the zone are these spikes that stick out of the ground when you walk over them. Unfortunately, this is reflected in the gameplay, as there is not too much difference between these spikes and normal spikes given the time of the exit, which doesn't leave many options other than to avoid them as normal spikes. A pretty good zone, thanks to the delightful animation of the springs, which were recycled from my old platformer that inspired this project. The jumping spikes are a less good mechanic because jumping around is fun, but you get used to it just fine. The tile map is nice, I think, even if it's very inspired by the other Meadow tile map, and I've added a few little decorative elements to add a bit of atmosphere. It's at the end of this zone that the player gets a little surprise to remind them that they're in a Metroidvania, not a linear platformer. The next zone, the desert, is designed as a best of the other zone. As for the last zone, I'll leave you with the surprise. I just like to point out that I know the water in it isn't perfect by any means, but it was rather complicated, and despite the slightly slimy feel, I think it's pretty well made. So, what do I take away from this development? A lot of things about game dev process and marketing things also, but maybe I'll detail this in another video. Goodbye.